Hello everybody and welcome back to the Athlete Podcast. Today I am joined by Mia Amer, who is a professional ice skater. So tell us how you got started in ice skating.
Well, I was around 7 years old. I was just watching TV and saw an episode of Peppa Pig of George ice skating, and just told my parents that that's something that I wanted to try. I'd never really heard about it, and it looked fun, so then they took me for my first public ice skating session. I ended up loving it, so they put me into group lessons, and then the rest is history.
At that point, you didn't have a pair of skates yourself?
No, I was using the blue rentals from that you can get for a while, until for Christmas I got my first pair of ice skates, the little Graf Bolero ice skates.
And are they good to start with?
Yeah, they're good beginner skates. You know, they lasted me a while.
How long did it take you to change out into something like a little bit more serious then?
God, I probably had them for about 3 years. Yeah. Really got my wear out of them. Yeah. And then finally got my pair of proper skates. Yeah. And so you started competing around the same age, about 7 or 8 years old, right? Probably. Well, I probably started competing around, I think it was about 9, 10. I started getting properly into the competitive things. Then when I was about 7 or 8, we do like tests, obviously in the group lessons, work my way through, and I did take a while doing them. A lot of kids zoom through them, but it took my time.
It's a little bit like the swimming badges.
Yeah, that's literally what it's like.
You have to go through like a little test to get your badge.
Yeah, it's called the Skate UK.
Yeah.
So took me a long time, but I got there in the end.
And you did get selected.
I did. I got scouted. Coach did see my potential, even though I was a bit slower. They saw that I had something, so. And then ended up getting private lessons from that coach. Yeah.
What's the first thing that you learn on the ice then? Other than, balancing.
Yeah, probably to learn how to fall. That's the first thing that they teach you. Okay. To learn how to stand back up again when you are on the floor.
It's
yeah, it's quite handy because you are there quite a lot. Or going forwards, backwards. Yeah. It takes a while before you learn your first jump. Yeah. First spin, but.
Backwards seems difficult.
Yeah.
Backwards seems really difficult, actually. Is it just the same technique as going forwards, but sort of in reverse? Or
it's quite different. Because the forwards, obviously, you want to just walk like normally, but you have to push diagonally, which becomes like second nature. In the end, but the backwards, it's kind of you push in the opposite direction. To be fair, I don't skate backwards just like skating. We do like crossovers, and so it is a bit different now.
I mean, for you, it's probably quite difficult to even explain, because for you it's just your muscles do it.
I don't know how I do it anymore.
You're on the ice, you just sort of, it happens. It's difficult to sort of put it into words now. What was the first, let's say, I don't want to call it a trick, but like skill is probably the right word.
Well, the first jump you ever learn is a 3 jump. It's just the basic forwards to backwards, but after that you've got about 6 or 7 other jumps. I remember my first axel, that's the first big jump that you learn. It's a 1.5 rotations. I remember it took me months and months. I literally can remember the first time I ever landed it. I was so excited, told my mum, told my coach, everyone. That's the first big one.
So if you're 1.5, you spin once and then you spin again to land backwards.
Yeah, so you take off forwards, 1.5 in the air, come back on one leg.
Oh my god. On one leg?
Yes, take off one leg, land on the other leg. Yeah, it was just so hard. The learning the rotation was hard, then learning how to land on your boot. Obviously lots of falls, lots of tears, but we got it in the end, and that starts the rest of it. Yeah.
What has been the most difficult jump for you to learn then?
So the hardest one, I think it's called a Lutz. It's where all of them take off obviously one leg or the other leg, but on a blade you've got an inside and an outside edge. And this one takes off on the outside, which is quite hard. Yeah. And like even now, it's the scariest jump that I do. But lots of practice, lots of repetitions.
Is it just that you can go over on your ankle, or?
My coach has a saying. He says left is death, right is fine. So always have to lean over to the right. If you lean to the left, you can just miss your blade and go straight over. So it's more about like how I'm gonna fall. But usually you learn. I mean, all the years of skating, you learn. If I lean a certain way, if I fall, it's not gonna be so bad.
No.
Because you learn to fall safely as well as you can. Yeah.
How does one fall safely?
Well, if
I fall, it's my risk.
To be fair, I think sometimes it depends on the type of fall. Say if I take off for a jump and I know I've done that wrong, and if I lift my leg in front a little bit higher, I'm going to balance myself and come a bit nicer onto the floor. A lot of the times we learn, just keep your arms in, don't slam the floor, stay a bit stronger.
What do you mean don't slam the floor?
I don't want to
it's not
hit
like
the floor out to the side. You just got to react fast and all. Sometimes you can.
Keep yourself
just stay nice and ready for the floor. If you're going to lose, your head's going it's not good. A lot of the times, like when you're learning a jump, say I know I'm coming into the ring, I'm going to learn something new, I'll put a bun in my hair, because if I'm going back, I don't want to hit my head.
Oh, that's good actually.
Yeah, we have bum pads as well that we wear.
I can imagine you get quite a few bruises. Yeah. Especially your knees.
Knees are the worst. Knees, my elbows, hands, I get bruises across the palms of my hands. But to be fair, they're not... I don't sometimes notice the bruises until, like, say I'm getting changed, and go like, oh, where's that bruise come from? Yeah. No idea.
It just happens in
from
sport,
the ice,
doesn't it? You're just doing stuff.
Yeah.
So what would you say, see, I'm a little bit interested in this, in terms of the skates themselves, or, well, the boots. The boots. Yeah. I'll make sure I don't do that again.
Technical terms.
In terms of the boots themselves, is there really anything that differentiates, like, one boot, in terms of one boot that's on an athlete to another athlete? Like, do you all have, do the blades, are they different at all?
Yeah,
do people have preferences? Or?
Yeah, definitely. So there's different brands. Everyone has a different preference for a brand. So I've always worn Jacksons. They're my favourites. Whereas a lot of the most popular ones called Adia. They're the ones that make, like, you'll see a lot of Russians in Adia. But whereas I like my Jacksons, and then the blades, again, different brands. So I've got Jackson blades, and they've got something called a rocker. So I've got a 7-inch rocker. Some people prefer an 8-inch or a 6-inch. That's what you spin on. So, and there's different types of toe picks. So the higher levels you got, the toe picks become a little bit deeper, larger, so you can hit the ice for your jumps. Whereas when you're a beginner, if you have the big toe picks, you trip over all the time. Like a toe pick trick is like the worst type of trips you can do. So
because you're going straight
to your face. Yeah. So the beginner, you have to have, there's different types. There's the beginner boots, there's your intermediates, your professional boots, and you can get different colours as well. The women tend to wear white, the men wear black, and then professional skaters wear the tanned colours. But you can get whichever boots. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've just got like the middle type. Haven't got the most stiff boots you can get, but people have different preferences on how they like to bend, where some people tie their boots so tight to their ankles that they can't really bend their ankle, which I like to do. Or some people like to be able to get their fingers right between their ankle and their boot so they can have a big bend, but I hate that. I'd much rather
what's the benefit of that then?
More for, so into ice skating they have something called ice dances, where they don't jump, they just spin and they do edges, so they need to be able to bend to turn nicer and get deep edges. So they need a big bend, whereas because I'm doing all the jumps, I like to feel nice and stable.
Yeah, you don't want to use on the I don't want to roll my ankle, support and things like that.
So just personal preference.
Oh, okay then. And then in terms of like the other equipment, it's all just regular sportswear, isn't it? You could go into an ice rink today, rent a pair of the boots there, and be wearing just like anything really. I mean, maybe put a coat on.
Yeah, I wear a coat. Two tend to get quite warm. I'll go into the rink with like 3 layers on before I take them off, and then end up in just my t-shirt and leggings.
Yeah, you might get warm. Yeah, because you're skating round. Right?
I will go.
But me, clinging onto the wall.
Yeah, you might stay
cold.
I need a coat. Always wear gloves though. I always have gloves.
I might even take a hot water bottle with me.
I always have one to start off with.
Yeah, definitely. Gloves so big because you don't want to. Yeah. You don't want your bare palm or anything like that.
No, because in one of my routines, I've got a cartwheel on the routine, and I don't like the feeling of the ice on my hands.
A cartwheel.
Yeah.
How do you plant yourself with your hands on ice?
Well, when you go for the cartwheel, you gotta put your hands quite close to your feet, because if you put your hands further away, you slide away. I've made that mistake before. Yeah. It's very scary. Just like the gloves that I wear, they've like just regular gloves you get from Primark, but they're quite like grippy on the ice. So if you just whip your legs over fast enough, you'll be fine.
Ah, okay. Yeah. And so you mentioned a little bit about your routine then. You got a cartwheel in there, you got a few jumps, I'm assuming. Can you walk us through your routine?
Yes, so I've got 5 jumps, 2 spins, and a step sequence.
Nice.
So the jumps, you have combination jumps, so it's 2 jumps back to back, or just a jump on its own. And the spins, you have to have an upright spin, so I've got something where I lean back and then I change feet and grab my boot and bring it to my head. That's the first one. And the second one is like a change of position. So you start my body like parallel, my leg down, and I'll go into a sit spin and then change feet. There's loads of different spins you can do, but you've got to have an upright and a...
The sit spin, that's where you, like... How do I visualise this without, like, standing? You have your foot, like, you're crouched.
Yeah.
You have your foot, like, out
have my foot in front. You can either have it in front, out to the side where it's bent. That's called a broken leg, because it looks like a broken leg.
Yeah.
Or you can have your leg, like, wrapped underneath you behind, which is a funny one. It's called a mushroom.
A mushroom.
Yeah, they've all got really funny names. Okay. Yeah, but the most... iconic sit spin is the leg in front. It's called the Russian sit spin.
What is there anything in your routine that every single time you sort of like, oh no, I've got to do this?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's muscle memory for you, but is there anything that really shakes you?
Well, I've got one jump that's near the end, when I'm most tired, and it's a jump that I'm still a little bit fearful of, because sometimes jumps that when you take off, you don't know if you're going to land or not. A lot of the times you can feel it. There's this one jump where if you've taken off wrong, you're going to fall. And when I'm tired, it's always a bit scary, but my coach put it at the end so that I can work on it more. So but other than that, it's not too bad. We've got lots of spaces in your program to breathe, because obviously my program's 3 minutes long, which is quite a long time, especially with the jumps and the spins. So say we have like a spiral where we glide and we lift a leg, that's the second where I can breathe for 3 seconds and then keep going.
And then onto the next jump. Yeah.
And then just keep working.
How does competing feel for you then? Is it like afterwards, is it just sort of like a blur, or do you know exactly what you're doing?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of adrenaline. There's so much adrenaline goes into it. As soon as I skate onto the ice and they announce your name and you look at the judges, I can't hear anything other than my music. I can't hear the audience. No idea what goes on. And then it's just me and the ice and my music, and I just try and get on. I try my best to enjoy it, because I feel like that's where I relax the most. I forget that I'm doing a competition, try and just get to the end. And then as soon as you get off, you have the place it's called a kiss and cry, and you sit and you're with your coach and you just go over and you wait for your score. And then that's when I'll be like, did anyone clap? And they're like, yeah, they clapped all your jumps. I was like, I didn't hear a thing. I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice feeling when you finish, because in skating people can throw on, like, they're called tosses. They throw on like teddies and flowers for when you finish. So that's always quite nice. And then you go collect them. Yeah. Take off. So it's quite a nice atmosphere.
So in terms of the competitions, you did speak to me a little bit about it before. Everybody, they all perform to music, and from what you said earlier, at least, the outfit that you're wearing is also quite a significant asset to the performance, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So it's got to match your music, otherwise they will deduct points from you. So say if you have like a Spanish music, you'll have like a flamenco type of dress, or if it's darker music, a dark dress. Or like I said, like the 80s one, there is some girl who's got an 80s music, so she has the headband and the leotard, and
brilliant,
so it's all got to match, but it's all part of it. It's quite nice.
It's the showmanship. Especially if it's it's if you're going to perform to music, then if
it's going to be the whole package.
You wouldn't expect someone dancing to be wearing all the 80s stuff with the fluffy band and the headband and everything, and then there's like Mozart.
Literally.
If in any sort of dance or interpretive sort of piece, you wouldn't expect it. So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a bit harsh.
It is harsh.
You can't just wear something generic.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it is harsh for, especially because when some like companies charge so much money for certain dresses, whereas you can kind of make it your own. So if you find, like, say, you can get like a black dress from Amazon and just gem it where you think you can. Some people just buy leotards from certain clubs, get like a different coloured skirt and sew it on, or that type of thing. You can try and make it your own rather than paying for it.
And that's like one of the biggest things about ice skating is the cost of everything.
Very financial.
Like, not even like it comes down to you've got to pay to go on the ice. Obviously, you've got to pay for your boots and your kit and things like that. It's training and competing, nonetheless. But then there's also like coaching, traveling. You've got to pay to join competitions.
Oh yeah, it's so expensive, and I think that was the worst part of it for me growing up, because my parents didn't have that much money, so we didn't do many competitions when I was younger. I had the bare minimum lessons. I only had one a week, only 15 minutes when I was younger, because that's all we could afford. Whereas like all my peers were having lessons every single day, doing every comp every weekend, or brand new dresses, brand new skating equipment. And that was always difficult for me. But the older I got, the more I realised that doesn't really matter. That's not the be all and end all. Like now I'm old enough where I can afford to have like an hour lesson once a week, and I can do more competitions. But that's, if I didn't have all those years of just the bare minimum, I would never be to where I am today. Like it's taken me a long time, but it doesn't matter how long, as we've all got to the end, the same ending position. We're all doing the same type of thing. And like even with come down to like skating outfits and training outfits, some people had like the most expensive brand new thing, the new like Russian outfits everyone's wearing, and I still just had like my Nike t-shirt, Nike leggings, because it all does the same thing. It doesn't matter what.
So in terms of like saving money and things like that, what are your biggest tips? I imagine like for obviously like the sportswear training wear, Vinted, Depop, eBay maybe. Probably Vinted is the best one.
Vinted, you can definitely get competition dresses. There's so many on there. Even if you're just starting out at skating, I'd say get a second-hand pair of boots. Even if you get like, you can get high level ones, people are selling them for much cheaper. They're broken down for you, so you don't have to do that, because that's the most painful part. It's already broken down. You get quite a long time wear out of them. So you don't have to spend thousands of pounds, especially if you're just starting out. And then at that point, then you can start saving up for your
everyone
next
just
pair.
has to remember that like you don't have to be wearing the nicest clothes and things like that. You can just go, at the end of the day, you're doing a sport, you're gonna be warm enough anyway. You know, while you're on the rink. So even a t-shirt and like some tracksuit bottoms,
will literally be fine.
Leggings. Like,
you're training, no one's watching. It's not about what you're wearing, it's about what you're doing.
Exactly. So, it's about your progress as an individual.
We always used to say, Mum, we used to think they've got all the gear and no idea. You just gotta like just wear what you want.
Yeah, exactly. It's I can see how it would be like the biggest barrier, especially even nowadays. The cost of living is just shooting through the roof, and now we've got to go and get a new pair of ice skates. Who can even facilitate that?
Literally, and it's such a shame, because it's such a nice sport, and I'd love everyone to be able to try it, but it's just so financial. But I think it's more pushed that it is a rich sport. There's ways around it. Like I managed to do it all those years, so I think there's funding out there as well that you can try and apply for. But you don't have to. You don't have to take it so seriously. You can just get the second-hand pair of skates and just go to like a public session once a week and do it for fun. And you can still see amazing. You know, like you were on a 3-year hiatus and came back to the sport. And then was it your first competition back? You won bronze. You know, it's something that stays with you. It's like riding a bike.
Exactly.
It just doesn't seem to go.
Your muscles, they never forget the precise movements and processes behind doing things.
It's so weird. Like the moment I stepped on the ice, I was like, I remember what to do.
Had you even done any ice skating, not even casually, or just
literally nothing? 3 years of just nothing. I hadn't even been on ice. Part of me was too sad to go back, because I was like, I didn't leave because I wanted to leave. It, just couldn't afford it anymore. And then I was like,
and with the global
and then the pandemic hit, and then that pushed back, and then D-side didn't even open. So even if I wanted to go back, D-side wasn't there. So as soon as it opened, I just like messaged a coach and said, "Well, how would you take me as for lessons?" And they said yes, and I was.
Here we are.
I'm very excited, yes. And the rest is history.
And so in terms of competitions and successes, of course last year you won the bronze medal at the International Ice Skating Championships. Now that was in Sheffield. You mentioned that quite a lot of them in Sheffield. What's so special?
They've got Sheffield's. It's where all the nationals comps are. They've got another Olympic size rink. They've got 2 Olympic size rinks. So, and it's a huge arena, like seats all the way around. They've got spaces for all the judges, and
it's just a perfect plot.
It's perfect, so while like a competition's going on one rink, they can still have the public sessions and the training on the other ice pad. So
it's definitely interesting, because especially where you train, you share the rink with quite a few other people, and you don't see not you don't get on. I think your sports, they don't complement each other in terms of how they affect the rink. You mentioned that you ice skaters, you leave quite a few divots and things like that from where you're spinning.
Yeah, the hockey players are not our biggest fans. We don't like hockey players don't like ice skaters. It's just like a feud.
And the curlers are in the middle.
Yeah, they're neutral. Yeah, well, I mean, we do mess up the ice, and then they also mess up the ice, but in different ways. So then it's a shame, and they obviously want ice time, and we want ice time.
Everybody wants to be on the
Everyone wants the ice, yeah. But
there's not much you can do.
No.
So in a typical week, you mentioned earlier, you're not training today. Today's Monday.
Yes.
But you do on Tuesdays, Thursdays,
and Sundays.
And Sundays. Okay. Yeah. Are you doing any individual stuff outside of the specific days that you're training or not?
What's in terms of like for skating?
Just anything really, you know. Is it important to go to the gym outside of your training and stuff like that?
So normally on a Monday, I normally do 2 gym classes in the morning, and then on a Monday night I'll do a gymnastics class just to keep it going. Same for the Wednesday, I'll go to the gym in the morning. So a lot about ice skating is you can do as much as you want on the ice. You've got to keep up your stamina and stuff off the ice. It's such a stamina like demanding sport, and that's what I struggled with the most coming back, because you lose your stamina like that. So the first time I tried to do a program, I just could not make it to the end. It was so hard. Even it's taken me about 2 years to try and get back to where I was beforehand. But that's with all the work I've done outside. So starting the gym again, doing like classes and doing all the aerobic sort of stuff to try and get me through. Because 3 minutes doesn't sound like a long amount of time, but when it's just you and you're doing all those jumps and the spins, it's very physically demanding.
It's too physically. I remember stuff like individual speaking in school and whatnot. 3 minutes. Easy, completed it, mate. But getting into it and then you stood up there, it's a lot.
Takes it out of you, doesn't it? Yeah,
it is a lot. And so I did imagine that it was probably going to be quite a gym intensive sort of sport. You've got to have quite a lot of core strength to be able to do. Core. And obviously the balancing and things like that. What are you typically focusing on in the gym then, other than obviously your core?
Well, a lot of leg work is necessary. Lots of squats. Because obviously we've got jumping, want to jump high. A lot of like plyo work, being able to come fast off the floor. Lots of block jumps and many repetitions of that. Working on ankle strength, that's probably the most important thing.
How do you do that then?
Like wobble board work, making sure you've got strength, and heel raises off of like the step up machines. Lots of, just because ankles are very important and they've got to be strong, especially when you're on one leg for such a long time, and we're rocking from side to side on our feet, so they've got to be strong. Just that type of stuff.
Very, very interesting. So in terms of your nutrition then, on like a weekly basis, what do you find yourself eating? How are you fueling your body for all of these activities?
Well, lots of pasta. Pasta's always my go-to. It's my favourite food as well, so it's very handy. Making sure you have lots of meat, lots of protein, lots of like, say I've had like a heavy day and I've got in quite late, like beans on toast will just be like a handy nutritious like meal. Lots of healthy stuff as well to go with it. Lots of healthy snacks, especially if I'm about to go to training and it's an early morning training, so I can't have like quite a big breakfast because I don't want to feel sick on the ice. So I'll make sure I have like a banana before I go.
No, I would not want to eat a full English breakfast followed by doing 5 pirouettes.
It's quite a lot.
And jumping and falling over.
So like that type of things, like cereal bars and bananas will get me through the morning before I can get home and have a proper meal. Are
you big into like oats and things like that, or
not so much? I like granola. I'll have like a granola often, but not really oats and stuff.
Is there a reason? Are you just not?
I'm quite a fussy eater, really. So what?
Interesting.
Yeah. So like pasta being my favourite is obviously really handy. Because that's really.
It's so simple.
Yeah. And like I love all the healthy stuff, like the salads and the cucumbers, and I'm into all of that. Whereas like I'm quite fussy where it comes to like fish. So protein's always been a really hard thing for me to try and get round. Especially when I was younger, I was like wouldn't touch any chicken or anything. But like obviously, when the older you get, you realise actually you kind of need that sort of stuff.
Actually, I kind of love chicken.
Actually, it's actually kind of nice. So I eat chicken now. So that's the sort of thing.
Just chicken and pasta, straight up.
Yeah.
Sauces or?
Yeah, sauce. I have like a tomato and basil sauce.
The classic.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it.
Yeah, it's just. It works, but it does its job.
It doesn't work. It's just there's a reason.
Yeah,
like,
it's just delicious.
I mean, it's one of those really. You speak to you speak to a lot of athletes and they say, yeah, I have like chicken and rice, pasta and chicken, things like that.
Yeah.
And they, especially like combat sports, they'll be like, yeah, in a camp we don't even get sauce. Those are wasted calories, like stuff like that. And I'm like, right,
no,
come on, live your life.
Yeah, you've got to have some fun. Yeah.
You can't just eat dry chicken and dry pasta.
No.
So what do you count as a cheat meal then? What's the
a cheat meal?
Or will you go to as well?
Yeah, well, like a fast food, like a restaurant type of meal, wouldn't it be like a Nando's every so often?
Nando's is a cheat meal?
Yeah, well, it's like the chips and stuff, and
I mean,
like,
yeah,
I guess the meal portion's much bigger.
They've done a pretty good job of brainwashing me then to think it's good.
Or like a Mackey's, obviously I have like a Mackey's every so often when I go out with my friends or with my family and stuff.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah, you definitely.
That's my problem with living, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is that I go about my life and then for one or another reason I find myself needing to eat a McDonald's. Not because I want to, but because I'm in a situation where it calls for it.
Yeah.
And I've got nothing else to eat and I'm like, I don't want to make food when I get home. No.
Mackey's, it's right there.
Exactly.
It's so handy.
Exactly.
And so what, you know?
I mean, in fairness, I've literally just come back from America and the McDonald's that we have here, it's healthy in comparison to the stuff that they get. Oh my God.
Big portions.
Yeah, no. If you ask for a small drink, this is my mistake. The first day we got there, we got off the plane, and obviously you get off a flight, you've been on it for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And like, we were hungry. Yeah. Let's go get some food. And we ended up in Chick-fil-A, and stupidly, there I am. Yeah, please just make it a large meal if you don't mind. Yeah, I'm really starving. And they give me it, and oh my God, the cup that the drink came in was taller than my head. It was totally free refills, as many as you wanted.
Oh my God.
And they gave me like 8 pots of sauce. The chips, they were like flowing out the bag.
Oh my God.
It's healthy over here, I'm telling you.
That'll be a
because
massive
the portion
cheat.
sizes are unbelievable.
Wow.
But yeah, stuff like that. I mean, the Domino's always goes down well as a cheap meal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is there any? Do you get like any cravings for food like that, or not?
Not so much, to be fair. Normally, I'd only get a craving if I maybe see, like, if I drive past a Mackey's and I think that seems really nice right now. Or say sometimes I will have one after a training session. Yeah. If I have a hard training session, they're not all perfect. Obviously, sometimes they are hard, and I just think, you know what, I need right now a Mackey's.
Yeah, of course.
Like that'll do.
I don't know if you're familiar with like further up so our office is based on the A494 for the people that don't know, up in North Wales. If you continue, it turns into the A55. I don't know if you're familiar with like past that way up to like proper North Wales.
Not too much.
There's a Mackey's on the side of the A55. It's about 5 minutes into my journey home, and I've worked here for 4 years now, coming up to 4.5 years. Not once have I gotten off the A55 and got a Mackey's. And I'm quite proud of that.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Because with it being right there, and it's still,
so
I don't
easy.
have to go out my way at all. I just get off the dual carriageway, get my Mackey's, get back on, and then go home.
Wow.
I've not once have I done it, which is, I think, pretty... Like,
that's good.
I'm quite proud of myself. So, in terms of... Let's get back on track now. In terms of... if you had like one little piece of advice that you had to give to someone that was starting out, or maybe that wants to get into it but they're an adult or something like that, what would it be?
Probably just have fun with it. Just try and enjoy it. Don't take it too seriously at the start, because you don't need to. The thing with the sport is people need to enjoy like the longevity of it, not try and just be amazing straight away. It's not how the sport works. It takes years. Some people have different, like, some people develop really fast and then they plateau and they stay like that. Some people take a long time to get there. I think the hardest thing is people look and compare themselves so easily. And like, if I could go back, I'd say to myself, stop looking at what all the other girls are doing, how quickly they're progressing, because in the end we all made it there. In the end we all got to the same point. And I think I want people to stay in the sport for longer, to go through, it's such like a nice de-stressing thing, and exams, people go through GCSEs, A-levels, that's a really hard thing to go through. Go to the rink and just have a nice skate and
get onto the ice and
just forget everything that's going on. Just enjoy the sport, don't take it so seriously, just enjoy yourself.
Perfect.
Type of thing. Yeah.
Nothing else? Nothing to add?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Wow. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a very interesting one. We never ever had a figure skater, ice skater, nothing like that. No hockey players. Nobody on ice.
Well, that's great.
And so it's been a nice little in-depth look really into the world of it. So thank you for joining us.
No problem.